Transition, go.
Good morning, New Brunswick, and welcome to the New Brunswick Today Show for Friday, September 30th. We're coming at you today from our studio here in downtown New Brunswick. We want to thank you for joining us today on this cloudy day here in the Hub City. We've got a great show for you. Our guest will be an intrepid reporter who's been with us for years, Christopher Roberts. But first, the weather. Today it's 56 degrees and cloudy in the Hub City. Supposed to rain early, then remain cloudy with showers in the afternoon. The high today is going to be 62. The low will be 58. Now, looking ahead to the weekend, we've got about a 50% chance of rain tomorrow and a 20% chance of rain on Sunday. That's according to the Weather Channel. A couple traffic advisories today. Somerset Street is closed between Lewis and Harvey Streets until 4 p.m. And Lewis Street's going to be reduced to a single lane between French and Somerset Streets until 4 p.m. as well. Now, to all of you watching this broadcast live on our Facebook page, please do us a favor and share this video with your friends right now. You can also comment on the video with your questions, feedback for us, as well as reach out to us at our Twitter account at NB_today, and we'll actually respond to you. Later today, this video is going to be available on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, as well as the NewBrunswickToday.com website. Now, the really great thing about this show is we let you into our newsroom so you can find out what stories we are working on and what you can expect to see in the newspaper in the coming days and weeks. Now, we cover a lot of news right across the street from us at the Middlesex County Courthouse. Today's a big day for some defendants there. Defendants like Ruhan Peel. Mr. Peel is one of the Rutgers football players arrested last September for a violent assault on an innocent student over a parking spot. Now, Peel should be being sentenced right about now, so stay tuned to NewBrunswickToday.com for the latest. Now, Judge Dennis Nieves actually shocked many people when he sentenced 22-year-old Delon Stevenson, the man who threw the sucker punch that broke a student's jaw, to just 3 days in jail on July the 1st. Now, Nieves had previously said the attack, which was videotaped, was, quote, bizarre and, quote, almost barbaric. He said, if the community saw what I saw, they would be outraged. I can't forget this. But then, Judge Nieves threw out the plea deal and sentenced Mr. Stevenson to just 3 days in jail, and he is out now. Now, Ruhan Peel is unlikely to get such a lenient sentence because he was arrested again a month later for another violent attack on an innocent person while he was out on bail. Now, those charges are still pending, and we'll keep you posted on that case. Also in court today are two New Brunswick firefighters accused of scamming the state disability system by working for the city at the same time they were getting disability payments. Richard Patterson should probably be in the courtroom of Judge Alberto Rivas right about now for a pre-indictment conference in his case. Patterson was suspended back in April when he was arrested by detectives from the Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office. That arrest came about 6 months after those same detectives arrested Del Walker, former NFL football player and longtime city firefighter. Mr. Walker should be in the courtroom of Judge Joseph Payon right about now. Now, Walker actually has multiple indictments pending against him. In addition to those charges of fraud, he's also been indicted for an alleged shoplifting incident on December 22nd, 2014. This is news to us. That was before he was charged with the insurance fraud, and we asked the city if they knew about another arrest, and they said they'd heard rumors, but they didn't know for sure. So he's actually also been subsequently charged with a third-degree drug possession offense on August 16th of this year, just over a month ago, allegedly for possessing heroin. All those cases are going to be before that same judge, Judge Payon. Now, as always, stay tuned to New Brunswick Today for the latest on these stories. Another really big important thing we learned at the courthouse is that Timothy Puskis, a New Brunswick landlord, was sentenced in a fatal hit-and-run crash that killed a cyclist, Leonel Lopez Hernandez, back in 2012. You might remember that while Puskis was out on bail, he was accused of the brutal murder of Billy McCall, a college student who was found dead in a Hartwell Street backyard in February 2014. That case is still pending, but Puskis has now been sentenced in the hit-and-run case by Judge Diane Pincus. Last month, she sentenced him to 7 years in jail and 3 years on parole. He must serve 85% of that sentence, at least 85% of that sentence, before being eligible for release. Now, since his arrest in March 2014 in that brutal murder, Puskis has been lodged at the Middlesex County Jail on more than $5 million bail. His next court date in the killing of Billy McCall case is scheduled for October 25th in Judge Nieves' courtroom. Now, before we move on, we just want to show you a photo of Rosa Martinez. She's the former nurse at Livingston School who sued the New Brunswick Board of Education after she says she was forced out of her job because she had a disability that the district did not want to accommodate. Now, that court case was settled this week in the middle of a disastrous trial for the Board of Ed, and that settlement was for a total of $2 million. So Martinez will get $1.1 million, and her attorneys will share the remaining $900,000. You can see they're definitely smiling. They are happy with that decision. All of it is going to be paid for by taxpayers. Now, we're going to keep you posted on that. Make sure you watch the New Brunswick Today show next week when we'll be joined by one of our fantastic reporters, Carlos Ramirez. He broke the story of hundreds of New Brunswick middle school children who are no longer receiving free transportation to school. We'll talk to him about the impact that this settlement will have on those students struggling to get transportation and the district, which is struggling in general. Now, just last week, officials told us they didn't have the money to restore that so-called courtesy busing to the students. They claimed it would cost between $350,000 and $400,000, and they just didn't have the funds to do so. So you can imagine we'll be pressing them on how they can afford to spend $2 million to settle this lawsuit. We've also got a lot of other great guests lined up for next week, so make sure you join us again then. We really love bringing the show to you here. But now it's time to talk about the New Brunswick High School Zebras football team. So I'm going to throw it over to our terrific sports reporter, Stephen Roca, who's got highlights from last week's game against Sayreville. Take it away, Stephen.
Hello, everyone. I'm Stephen Roca with New Brunswick Today, and Week 3 of the 2016 football season provided us with a GMC matchup between the hometown Sayreville Bombers and the visiting New Brunswick Zebras. The Bombers were 2-0, and of course did not want to lose at home, wanted to improve to 3-0, and the Zebras wanted to disrupt that perfect season they have going for themselves. So that, and they wanted to pick up their first win after starting the season 0-2. And after the game, the final score was 54-28, a combined total of 82 points. That's insane. Touchdowns were getting scored left and right. It was crazy. Very fun to watch and entertaining, and it provided us with lots of highlights. Sayreville would win the toss and select to receive. Getting it would be running back Michael Liberty, as he provides Sayreville with an excellent field position, 46-yard return, starting the drive on the Zebras' 34-yard line. Right away, Liberty gets behind his offensive line to establish the run game, fighting off tackles to pick up extra yards. Then, after converting on a 4th and 1 with Jaquay Roberts, Jason DeMille looks to throw, quickly avoids Pimentel in the backfield, and on the run he finds 6'7" receiver Jacine Floyd for a 13-yard touchdown. Bombers 7-0. Zebras get started on their own 35. Jabri Jeffrey quickly looks to his tight end Curtis Revan for a nice 14-yard passing play. And then they'll look for Kyle Lewis for an 11-yard pickup. This is his second catch on the drive, and the Zebras are moving forward. And, of course, they're going to try and go and establish the run game with Dylan Johnson. The 10-yard rush ties up the score at 7-7. Then, next drive for the Bombers. Pimentel sacks them out in the backfield. Loss of 8, forces a punt. And here's the ugly punt that somehow bounces off the Zebras, picked up by Zuriel Wright, and it's on the Zebra 26. Avoids the tackle there by Pimentel, but Jordan Harris is there to clean it up. Now they avoid all that pressure in the backfield right away, so what do? It's a quick dump off right to Liberty, and he's going to get a 14-yard scamper, 14-7 Bombers. Here's Jabri Jeffrey. He's pretty confident right now with his throwing arm. Finds Pimentel for the 12-yard pickup. And then This could have been a thing of beauty. Blown coverage right down the middle, and it's just a yard in front of him. Almost ties up the game. Jeffrey looking again. Here's the one-handed grab by Lewis, and that would set up Jeffrey Garcia for a 35-yard field goal, which they would miss. Here's DeMille. Finds a slanting Floyd. He's going to get chased down by Jabri Jeffrey. That's a 57-yard pickup, and it sets up Liberty, who's going to go untouched for another score, 21-7. And right away, they provide the answer. Looking to Reams. Reams avoids 2 sacks. Let's avoid just one more, and then he's gone. He's going to hit the Jets, and no one could catch him. This was the game's longest touchdown at 88 yards. Scores 21-14 Bombers. On the ensuing kickoff, Elijah Clark, he's going to respond immediately. Here he avoids the tackle, and then see ya, 83-yard kick return to the house. Very athletic playmaker. Bombers get the ball once again. Chris DeMille on the run, has some pressure, back shoulder throw, and he connects for a 22-yard touchdown to the first and only pass to Andrew Wade. Here's a Weems punt, bouncing around, and Lewis forces the fumble. Pimentella's there, he's on it, and now sending it to the half, 33-14. Now, Zebras come out, ready to go in the half. Jeffrey looks to Zahir James, over 2 defenders. That's a 28-yard pickup on 3rd and 9. Very important for them. And then Dylan Johnson, whoop, avoids some tackles. No one's going to catch him. That's a 33-yard touchdown. And then Bombers respond immediately, looking to the nose guard and fullback, DeQuay Roberts. He pounces that one in. Here's Jeffrey trying to save some time, looking for a big play, and that's just going to get intercepted. That's the only interception that we saw in tonight's matchup. Here's the handoff, trying to respond, get some quick points. Reams avoids 2 tackles again before he's tackled into the end zone. That was a 36-yard run for the Zebras. And then Bobbers just looked to Liberty, and he has a nice open hole right in the middle of the field, 42-yard rush. And they look to Roberts, once again, 3-yard scamper into the end zone. Your final score, Bombers 54, Zebras 28.
And welcome back to the New Brunswick Today Show. Thanks to Stephen Roca for that excellent report. The Zebras take on Monroe Township High School's football team tonight at 7 p.m. Now, our next story, another one bites the dust. Anthony Cupano, a member of the New Brunswick Housing Authority Board of Commissioners who had not attended a meeting in several years, is no longer on the board. This is a quote from John Clark, the executive director of the Housing Authority, said at this week's meeting, quote, "We did hear from Commissioner Cupano, who has notified us that he's no longer serving in a holdover capacity." Now, Clark confirmed that at this week's board meeting. Cupano hasn't been in a board meeting since the last time we saw him. There was 2012. Now that means it's up to Governor Chris Christie to appoint a successor. By law, housing authorities have boards with 5 members appointed by the city council, 1 member appointed by the mayor, and 1 member appointed by the state governor. Cupano was that gubernatorial appointment. He was appointed by Governor Corzine. Now, Cupano is the 3rd board member on the NBHA board to leave office since New Brunswick Today started aggressively covering the public agency. 2 other board members, Louis Gutierrez and Ida Brangman, left the 7-member board last year after we started aggressively covering them. Now, in other news, the New Brunswick Parking Authority approved an access agreement to allow for asbestos abatement at the Ferrin Mall and parking garage. Now, that parking garage is vacant. It's been an abandoned eyesore for the past couple of years, and it has been eyed for redevelopment for more than a decade. It's a large site, prime real estate. It's actually right next to us here at our downtown studios. So, though the authority promised to tear it down in the past, the city has been sending mixed signals about what will happen at the site. And now, first, the planning board approved a redevelopment plan for this area in July. But 1 month later, the New Brunswick City Council voted to table that redevelopment plan, indefinitely postponing its final approval based on concerns about traffic that were raised at that meeting. Now, City Planning Director Glenn Patterson's argued that the current site is underdeveloped, and given its proximity to downtown and the train station, they want to build some pretty big buildings there. Now, since the council's tabled the redevelopment plan, the parking authority has moved forward with its efforts to finally demolish the megastructure. In August, the NBPA Board of Commissioners approved an agreement with New Brunswick Development Corporation, also better known as DevCo, a private nonprofit developer, and that agreement gives DevCo the first option to buy the land and at whatever price an appraiser determines, minus the cost of demolition. Now, we learned on Wednesday at the NBPA board meeting that it will cost actually $2.2 million for that demolition. Now, the demolition is set to begin after asbestos abatement. They have to remove asbestos from the property, apparently. News to us that there was asbestos there. That asbestos abatement is set to begin on October the 3rd and last for 3 to 4 weeks. And then the NBPA says finally they'll demolish this big vacant eyesore in the downtown area. Now, watch for all that and more in the coming days on our New Brunswick Today website. Also, if you want to watch the videos from this week's NBHA or NBPA meetings, you can find them on our NB Today YouTube channel, thanks to videographer Jason Liebman. Now, right now you can check out some of the great stories about upcoming events in the area on the NewBrunswickToday.com website. For instance, our top story today, Laurel Kornfeld brings us the story of a robot building contest taking place later actually next month, October, on Jersey Avenue. FUBAR Labs, the nonprofit city-based community organization, was formed in 2009 to bring makers, hackers, and tinkerers together to share ideas and knowledge. They're the ones hosting this robot building contest. It's short for Fair Use Building and Research Labs. The event's called FUBACon 2016. It'll take place on Sunday, October 23rd, at the FUBAR Labs space on building at 100 Jersey Avenue. They're in Suite B103, and it's based on Japan's Hibokon competition. FUBACon 2016 is a robot sumo event in which two individually designed and built robots battle one another in a 40-inch by 20-inch arena. Now, each robot will try to push its opponent out of the small raised arena, which is actually just a 1-inch thick and made of plywood. The one robot that stays in the longest wins and moves on to another round in the single elimination tournament. Now, tonight in New Brunswick, the Children's Hospital at St. Peter's University Hospital is hosting a children's fashion show to benefit the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, NICU. Venetia Patel has the story on New Brunswick Today. The event's going to be at the Hyatt Regency Hotel right here in downtown New Brunswick. And several children and teenagers will be modeling clothing to raise money for the NICU, which is one of the largest on the East Coast. The Twinkle Twinkle NICU Star is the title of the fashion show, and the stars of the show will actually be the graduates, former patients of the St. Peter's NICU. The event starts at 5:30 p.m. and ends at 10:30 p.m. It'll feature the runway fashion show as well as raffles, gift basket drawings, and a dinner. Tickets for adults are $65 and $45 for children under 12. But that's not all you can read about on New Brunswick Today. Keep scrolling and you'll see Matt Wozniak and I have a must-read article that explores the culture of retaliation among police officers and growing concerns about the credibility of cops here in Middlesex County. The inspiration for that article was the recent guilty pleas of 4 Edison police officers, including a sergeant who resigned and agreed never to hold public jobs in New Jersey ever again. Now, those cops have been accused of planning to retaliate against a North Brunswick police officer who sources tell us is former Middlesex County Sheriff's Officer Demetrius Katsalos. Katsalos had apparently arrested someone for a DWI, drinking and driving, inducing those Edison officers to plan a retaliation scheme against him. Now, that retaliation actually never happened. At the time the plea agreement was reached, jury selection was underway in the trial of those officers. It was a trial that was sure to attract a lot of publicity, negative publicity. The guilty quartet includes Michael Dotro, the troubled 36-year-old Edison police officer, lives in Manalapan, and he's been accused of igniting a bomb outside the Monroe Township home of one of his bosses in a totally separate case. It's just the latest chapter in a series of embarrassing scandals that have plagued that department in Edison, including shocking misconduct, dueling lawsuits, cover-ups, and retaliatory investigations. So for the past few decades, it seems that Edison police are making headlines for all the wrong reasons. But actually, so have many other police departments, especially those in Middlesex County and in our neighbors in New York City. The EPD has also been hit with a myriad of lawsuits, including many filed by police officers themselves. And meanwhile, the state's largest newspaper famously wrote, that's the Star-Ledger, of course, that, quote, at least 30 Edison officers were fired or abruptly resigned amid allegations of inappropriate illegal behavior over the past 2 decades. Now, the Edison Police Department's Internal Affairs Division was taken over by the Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office for 6 months back in 2010 after it was caught investigating civilians, such as politicians and family members of police officers. But it's not the only police department that's faced corruption allegations in Middlesex County, with the credibility of New Brunswick's police department and their internal affairs apparatus also recently being called into question. Now you can learn more about that and read the full story on NewBrunswickToday.com. Now, at New Brunswick Today, we're really pleased and really proud to have a phenomenal team of people working to bring you high-quality local news. We're fortunate enough to be joined today by one of these team members, a young man who's been writing for us actually since his days in high school, as a high school student. Chris Roberts is with us today. And now you might remember Chris was on our show just a couple weeks ago discussing a prolonged power outage at Rutgers that forced the school to evacuate an entire campus that was home to more than 300 students. Now, Chris reported from a temporary emergency shelter that was set up right near his dormitory in the Livingston campus of Rutgers, and we actually have, as promised, been able to recover some of the footage that Chris recorded within that temporary shelter. He was, of course, forced to delete that footage, but our experts were able to recover some of it. So while we bring Chris out, we want to share that limited footage we were able to get from inside the temporary shelter, thanks to our reporter, Chris Roberts. We'll be back with him in a minute.
Did you get every signature from them?
I'm working for media, though. This isn't.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm student government.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, this isn't a personal thing.
Yeah,
It's
I know.
for.
No.
This is the Athletic Center on Livingston. There's a power outage at Cook Douglas. There are more kids at the RAC and.
Not allowed to. That's why
Right.
I was coming off aggressive. I'm so sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. Are you allowed to film?
It's for me.
Welcome back. We're now joined by Chris Roberts. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Charlie.
Of course. Now, tell us, what have you been working on recently? You just had a story published last night.
Right, so as you probably have heard, since it was such a crazy story, last Friday there was an incident at Lot 103 in Livingston campus across from the quads dormitories on the Livingston campus that involved possibly a machete, gunfire, and several damaged cars that were apparently, it was observable that they were damaged.
Right, it looked like there had been some type of wreck in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And now, you seem to be at the right place at the right time, where you just happen to be living in the area where a lot of these newsworthy stories have been happening. So you were actually on the scene. You got some photos that we can show our viewers from that scene, which was last Friday, a week ago today, the slideshow from the shooting. And your article is published now. I really enjoyed your article because you kind of put it in context that it was not just a crazy day at Rutgers, but it was kind of a crazy week. Tell us about what other things happened that week.
So Lot 103 wasn't the only parking lot where a lot of crazy things happened in that past week. The Saturday before then at the, don't remember, it was Rutgers versus, it was a football game. I don't remember who they were facing. But there used to be a school-sponsored tailgate known as the Alley that was in the parking lot across from Wordland Recreation Center on Bush campus. And it closed down because the athletics director, Patrick Hobbs, was seen drinking a beer that was given to him by a crowd of cheering students. And actually, you guys covered that video, and you got it out there, and
it blew up.
It
was
blew
the,
up.
It was the talk of
Yeah.
Rutgers, and so it was. It's just strange, Rutgers is an educational institution, one of the top ones in the area, but for whatever reason, everybody was talking about the athletic director drinking a beer and the future of this tailgate party, because the students actually were in an uproar after they canceled the event. I think they overreacted a little bit and they canceled the whole thing. And so that was occupying the minds of the students that week up until that strange incident that you covered. But the week also started kind of with an ominous start. So tell us how did last week start?
Yeah, so last week started, you could say it started at 12 a.m. on Monday, but you could also argue that it started at 5 a.m. on Monday when a suspicious package was found in the Douglas parking lot, Douglas parking garage on Cook Douglas campus. The suspicious package, that sounds weird. The Rutgers, the RUPD, Nixle sent out a report that there was a suspicious package there. They were doing an active investigation on it.
And this was at the same time that, just on the heels of several explosions, bombs going off in Elizabeth, in Seaside Park, and in New York City, and they had yet to catch the alleged perpetrator. So people were really concerned about this package.
Yeah.
And that was quite a start to the week that ended with the incident you covered. Tell us, what did you think about how Rutgers handled these situations? They used it. You're right. They used their crime alert system. But your article also pointed out that maybe, at least in the case of the strange parking lot incident, they didn't use it quick enough.
Good. No. So the incident happened at 4:49 p.m. The shooting and the machete, whatever else happened.
Gun versus machete.
Gun versus machete showdown. The RUPD did not send out a crime alert to students about this till approximately 5:40 p.m. So that's almost an hour. Kids had no idea what was going on. There was a shooting, if there was still an active shooter on campus or something. So a lot of students were very worried.
Sure. And then, for the full story, you can read the article. But they did end up arresting 2 people. But the charges didn't necessarily add up to what happened. And you actually had a source that told you that there might have been some attempt at maybe vehicular assault?
Yes, and that's what I heard from a student. He heard it from other students. And, it looked as if that was the case, because there are several cars that had been clearly damaged by another vehicle. There was no way that those damages could have happened with a gun. But in the police report, they did not mention anything about vehicular damage from other vehicles.
Right. All the crime alerts just mentioned the gun, the machete, the gun maybe possibly being shot at a car.
Yes.
But nothing about any car accidents.
No.
I know that folks who had their cars parked in that lot, it was a packed lot that day, they didn't know what to do, and the school really never even told folks that it's okay to go back there.
Yeah, so they were worrying for probably hours that they didn't need to be worrying about their cars, because the school, like you just said, they never told the kids when it was safe to go back to the parking lot when they were done with the investigation.
Right, so we're going to be looking into Rutgers' whole emergency management apparatus. Part of that is how they dealt with the bomb scare on Monday. Part of that is how they deal with crime. But another part of that is how they dealt with this evacuation that happened the week before. So it seems like, that week was also a strange week, because for really, the reason of mechanical failure, the Cook Douglas campus had to be closed for really a day and a half. 3,000 students were told they couldn't stay at their dorm that night. 3,200, they had to kick them out at 10 p.m. and they were forced to go stay with friends or at these temporary shelters. Now, one thing we have in common is we were both kicked out of the Livingston Recreation Center for trying to document the conditions that Rutgers was subjecting these students to. And we showed you some of the video of you, documenting that we were able to recover. Tell us, what's the latest update with this? Have you heard from Rutgers yet?
I have. So if you remember last time, I told you that they told me that night that they would email me within a day. Well, that day turned into a week. And I unfortunately did not see that email until a week later on Wednesday, September 28th. And that was the day I was supposed to have a meeting with them that they talked about in the email they sent me. So,
and just so folks know, this is in regards to basically an accusation that some mystery person has made that you, we don't know what the accusation is.
We don't know what the accusation is, no.
Regarding the student code of conduct.
Yes, right. And they won't tell me what the accusation is, even though in the attachment that they sent me, it says in the student code of conduct that they have to tell me in written form what the accusation is over.
Right, before you go through this process of whatever kind of kangaroo court they want to put you through. They have impartial and fair kangaroo court. They have to, or they're supposed to, tell you the nature of the allegation.
Right.
And so they still haven't done that as of yet. And so tell folks what what you expect. You're going to be. It says that you must attend this meeting. You're basically being commanded or ordered by Rutgers to attend a meeting, and you don't know what to expect there, right? When is the meeting scheduled, and what's your plan?
It's either 2 or 2:30 p.m. on next Wednesday, October 5th. My plan. So they say that I can bring a special person. I forget, representative or someone to
support person.
Support person. That's what they said. And they also said I can bring witnesses. They did not define what a witness is, however. So I'm going to bring people in who can support me and say that, find out what the allegation is about, have my back there. And I'm also considering getting an attorney to support me.
Great. I think that would be smart because, not only is there this whole question of whether they're treating you fairly in this process and why they're even trying to, why these accusations are even being leveled, but that night when you were told to leave, they actually violated your rights. You had, recorded some video, for better or worse, inside the shelter, and some mystery man who apparently works for Rutgers told you that you had to delete the videos, and they wouldn't let you leave until you deleted the videos?
No, it was strongly implied that I had to delete the videos, so I did. I complied respectfully. And as I was leaving the building, that's when he called me back, and they told me about this meeting.
They started trying to take a disciplinary angle towards you for doing your job. I mean, you've been with us since before you've been a Rutgers student.
2014.
You've done great work for us. We're an award-winning newspaper, and we're really proud to have people like you doing this type of work. And Rutgers has to learn to respect the job of a journalist, especially a student journalist. That's your neighborhood. You live across the street from this place, and we wish you luck with this, and we've got your back 100%. We hope that our readers and fans and supporters will support you and let Rutgers know that it's not cool to be retaliating against you for just trying to do the job of a journalist. You were respectful throughout. You did everything appropriately, and now you're being brought up on charges that we don't even know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, well, welcome to the club. Thanks for your hard work. We appreciate it, and I'm sure that our audience does too. We wish you luck with this matter, and we'll keep our readers posted on this. We hope that we have a positive news to give them next time about how this all worked out.
Hopefully.
So, thanks for your hard work. You can watch Chris's video. We'll post that to YouTube later today from inside the temporary shelter at the Livingston Rec Center. Make sure you read his excellent article about that crazy week we had last week that ended with that showdown in Lot 103. And keep following the New Brunswick Today Show. We've got next week we're going to have our intrepid young reporter Carlos Ramirez will be joining us, as we said. And we also have a congressional candidate that'll be sitting down right where you are, Chris, next week. So make sure you tune in and watch those shows next week. Enjoy your weekend, and please share this video so others can learn about what's going on in our great city. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me, Charlie.
Thank you, Chris.
Pleasure
Keep
to
up
be
the
here.
good work.
Thank you.